Good day, gentle viewers! In today's news, Disney continues its reach into the anime space, while Crunchyroll delays its dubbing projects, and TenSura is getting a new project, whatever that means. All of that alongside an update on the current seasonal rankings today. So without any further ado, I'm Tristan Gallant, and welcome to Glass Reflection. Let's jam. Over the past week, Disney has announced two brand new anime acquisitions for its Disney Plus streaming platform. The anime adaptation of Synduality, a portion of the Bandai Namco mixed media project, is getting its exclusive time on the platform approximately around the same time as its third-person shooter game for Windows, PS5, and the Xbox, though we don't have a solid date on any of that. Disney is also receiving the worldwide streaming rights to the anime adaptation of Heavenly Delusion, which I think is a little bit more of an interesting acquisition. Synduality is probably going to be an okay series, but there is a bit of a stigma around mixed media projects where, at least I feel, that the overall quality of any individual part is lessened so that the overall project can stand together. It's even possible that the anime portion is purely just an ad of sorts for the game. It depends. It's a mixed bag, but I don't have high hopes, is pretty much what I'm saying. It's gonna be mediocre. Someone can clip that in the future if I'm wrong, and it's amazing. But from what I can gather, Heavenly Delusion is a proper manga adaptation and is also not tied into an already existing franchise. And that is important because this is Disney we are talking about. Prior to this, they've had to have a hand in introducing things like Star Wars Visions, which they made themselves in order to get that onto their platform. And also, I just can't imagine what kind of strings that they had to pull to get Bleach on Disney Plus for its new series, but that's the kind of thing that they had to do. And Bleach makes sense because it's already super big, but from what I can tell, it's also done really well for them, and maybe that's why they're starting to pay attention to anime a little bit more. Disney's main problem, I think, currently, is that not a lot of anime fans look at them and their platform as a place to watch anime. Yet. It does have some things, sure, but getting bigger exclusives is what will start sending the message to Crunchyroll and Netflix that they have to watch out. Summertime Rendering last year was the start, and Heavenly Delusion, I think, is the continuation of that. Disney is seeing that the anime niche might be worth a look. And then it all depends on how much time and money they actually want to throw into it. Now, Heavenly Delusion looks to be pretty good. The manga itself is done very well. And hey, Production IG is handling the production, and I will excitedly watch any anime of theirs that involves mecha of any kind. And this does. But I don't have a Disney Plus account, and I have maintained that I'm only keeping an active sub with services that offer anime. And it does slightly bother me that I do have to add yet another to the pile of things I need to be subscribed to each month in order to watch, or attempt to watch, literally everything. Even if, I only keep it active for like one show and then turn it off. On the other hand, I am happy about the additional competition to the anime streaming space, and hopefully that'll get Crunchyroll off their ass and get their act together, because even before, and especially since the Funimation merger, I feel like they've been a little overconfident as of late. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the mouse either, but if they can get the sushi to sort itself out, personally, I think it would be for the betterment of all of us in the long run. That said, Crunchyroll is not without its problems currently. Virtually every dubbing project on Crunchyroll's slate for this coming season has been delayed. I say virtually because it's not like Crunchyroll has done its best to advertise their dubbing offerings as of late. They've been really bad with that. And the sheer amount of dubs being delayed, well, I actually think it would be a shorter list to just tell us what dubs are not getting delayed rather than which ones are. Now, they claim that the delays have been caused by inclement weather in the Dallas area, where their main dubbing operations currently take place. And that's fair enough. We wouldn't want any part of the staff or the voice actors to risk driving into a ditch or getting into an accident on the I-30 or what have you, when it would just be safer for them to stay home. But about staying home, Crunchyroll has already been under fire as of late from moving away from any semblance of a previous model that allowed for dubbing to happen at a distance. And instead, they have been focusing heavily on more dubbing, specifically in their Dallas studio, and also specifically the talent in and around their Dallas studio rather than outside talent from across the country. Now, that said, it is also true that even if, let's say, the majority of the actors for any of these dubs were not Dallas locals, the ADR engineers and the directors most likely would be regardless, and they would be delayed just the same. Like Trigun Stampede has been delayed, and I know that Johnny Bosch is not in Dallas, last I checked. Anyway, so the delays would be inevitable regardless of where their talent was coming from, as long as it's a situation where the studio space is absolutely required, at least for someone. Unless, at one point, literally everyone could have worked from home, and still could now. They're just deciding not to. That is the only situation in where those delays would not have happened. So I don't know what the situation is. I can only speculate. I just personally really hope that the workloads of all the staff and actors have not just been like heavily increased in order to try and get on track with some semblance of the original schedule, especially if there was a better way to do all of that in the first place. You know, one of these days, perhaps soon, but there is currently no plans, these news videos of mine may one day be sponsored. But I don't always like that because the sponsors have rules and they have guidelines and they have requests and revisions. And while that's normally fine, I also would rather not have to deal with that if I can avoid it, which is why I want you all to just understand how extremely grateful I am for supporters over on my Patreon. Because yes, this video right here is not sponsored, and the more support that we get over on Patreon, the less sponsors that Glass Reflection will need at any given time. So an immense thank you, especially to patrons like Ryfen Bonaparte, Ross Emerson, Omar Showman, Hector Montemayor, Wago221, and Siri Yamako. We can't continue this without your support, so however much you are able to, I am eternally grateful. New things going on in the TenSura world. So, the series just had a film that released recently, Scarlet Bond. Now, I missed my chance to see it here in Canada because, well, heck, only so many films ever come to Canada, but I do appreciate the fact that not only did this film come and get screened in Canada, but it also did so not extremely far after the release in Japan last November. But it was only for a day, and I missed it. Unfortunate. But it seems to be that I am in the minority of fans who wanted to go see the film and did miss it because the film has done very well so far, grossing about 1.37 billion yen, or about $10.7 million, rounded. And in celebration, the staff of the film have announced a final grand screening of the film on February 19th. And not only will they show the film again, but at this event, they plan to announce a new project, in large air quotes. So it's speculation time. Now, we already know that TenSura is getting a third season. They told us that back in November when the film first launched onto screens, okay? So unless they are juking us here and the new project is just more details about season 3, then it's not another season of the main series. And good, so then assuming that we're even talking about an anime project, because the project could be, I don't know, a mobile game or something. Assuming that, it leaves two options. Now, we could be seeing a continuation of the Slime Diaries. Now, the Slime Diaries was a single-season, slice-of-life-esque adaptation of a manga spin-off that showcased all of the characters from Rimuru's kingdom, just, you know, having a chill time living there without any of the world politics or major conflict of any kind from the main series. And we could be getting more of that. Or there was another manga spin-off of TenSura, and that could be getting an adaptation instead. In 2018, there was a spin-off called That Time I Got Reincarnated Again as a Workaholic Slime, or reincarnated as a corporate slave, whichever you'd prefer. Both of which sees a bunch of similarities to the original story, but instead of being a 100% pure fantasy, it was more of a corporate drama. It's not the Tempest Nation anymore, it's the Tempest Corporation. I don't know why it existed, whoever thought that that was going to be a good idea, but apparently some people did, and it was somewhat successful. Now, that manga has been dormant since about 2020 or so. So I could be pulling that out of nowhere, and it never actually reached the popularity for them to think that, oh yeah, this is totally something that we should adapt. But maybe Slime Diaries did so well, they're like, why not? At the end of the day, we're gonna have to wait it out until the 19th to truly find out. Inspector Season 2 is on the list now? Are you insane? So Anime Trending released its newest chart, as it always does every week on Sunday, of the newest anime rankings from people. I'm already screwing up my lines, they released their chart after people had voted on what their favorite anime was from this past week. And while I am impressed with some of it, other parts, not so much. So Vinland Saga jumped up 3 whole positions to take the top slot this week, unfortunately knocking down the Reincarnated Princess down to 3rd. And not entirely surprising because, as I have been vocal about it recently, the last few episodes of that series have made the show feel very slow, kind of like it's in a sort of limbo, but hopefully, really hopefully, that's only been temporary. Buddy Daddies does go up a space, as does Bofuri, but at the bottom of the list, I just don't get it. All right, so out of all of the shows, all of the possible shows that are airing this season, we got 2 new entries on the top 10 list. Freaking Inspector Season 2 and Onimai. Do I need to watch Inspector now? I suffered through the first season of that, and it was paced like a bad shonen series where all the episodes were just spent with absolutely nothing happening but giant narrative dumps that do nothing to progress what little the plot of the show even had. And Onimai? I mean, okay, if that's what the people are voting into the chart, I guess. It's not a horrible series, it's a pretty okay comedy. But even after all of that, the ice guy and his cool female colleague is still here. It even went up a space. Here I was thinking last week that it being in 10th place might have meant that we were gonna see the end of it. But no, it's still here. My life is still suffering. But I don't want any of this. I don't wanna have to watch Inspector now because Inspector is just a world of interesting characters in a boring as shit universe. Did it pick up? Did season 2 of Inspector somehow solve all the problems of the last season? Did they figure out their pacing issues? I guess, maybe. I need to find out now, and I don't much like that. I'd much rather keep up with the list as it stands. I'm already following like 10 plus shows this season, and I don't want to have to add any more to it at this juncture, but fine. If you want to participate in the rankings at Anime Trending, there'll be a link in the description for their weekly voting. We here at Glass Reflection are not sponsored by Anime Trending. I just think what they're doing is neat. I just don't appreciate some of the people who vote, apparently. So that is it for our show today. Tune back in later this week as we come back with even more anime news and who knows what else content we might have stewing for the weeks to come. In order to watch that when it comes out, make sure that you both like the video and subscribe. And until that fated next time, ladies, gentlemen, and others, watch more anime and stay frosty.